Beneath the glittering surface of old Hollywood, where studio lights illuminated manufactured perfection, a darker current flowed through the backlots and bungalows. The stars who graced silver screens across America lived double lives, hidden romances, forbidden desires, and secrets so dangerous they could destroy careers in an instant. While the world watched their on-screen love stories unfold, the real dramas played out behind closed doors, away from the prying eyes of gossip columnists and fans. These were not just affairs, they were acts of defiance against a system that demanded absolute conformity. From tragic deaths to scandalous betrayals, from secret pregnancies to hidden identities, the truth about Hollywood's golden age is far more complex than the carefully curated images projected onto cinema screens. This is the story of 21 forbidden romances that changed Hollywood forever, revelations that exposed the price of fame in an era when authenticity meant professional suicide. Number 1. Clark Gable and Loretta Young. The king of Hollywood and the queen of purity, on the surface, they represented everything wholesome about America's film industry. Clark Gable, with his rugged charm and magnetic presence, had conquered the box office and the hearts of millions. Loretta Young, radiant and virtuous, embodied the ideal of feminine grace that studio executives believed audiences craved. Their public personas were flawless, carefully constructed by the machinery of MGM and other studios that controlled every aspect of their stars' lives. But behind the carefully maintained facades, a secret was brewing, one so explosive that it remained buried for decades, emerging only after death had silenced the key players. In 1935, Gable and Young came together on the set of Call of the Wild, a film that would prove far more consequential than anyone anticipated. Gable, already married at the time, possessed an irresistible magnetism that Young, at just 23 years old, found impossible to resist. The chemistry between them wasn't merely acting, it was genuine, dangerous, and ultimately destructive. But what happened during a train ride back to Hollywood would transform their relationship from a simple affair into something far more sinister. Years later, Young would reveal that Gable had forced himself upon her in her private compartment, a truth she kept hidden for decades, perhaps out of shame, perhaps out of fear of what the revelation would do to her career and reputation. The consequences of that night were devastating. Young discovered she was pregnant and faced an impossible choice. In Hollywood's golden era, unwed pregnancy meant professional death, studios could terminate contracts, and the moral outrage of the public could destroy even the most beloved star. Young, whose pristine image was her greatest asset, knew she had to hide the truth at any cost. She retreated from the spotlight, vanishing from public view until her daughter Judy was born. What followed was a carefully orchestrated deception. Young placed Judy for adoption, then adopted her back, claiming the child was her own. The elaborate scheme worked, protecting Young's career while hiding the inconvenient truth of Judy's parentage. Gable's response was cold, callous, and revealing of his character. When notified of Judy's birth, he reportedly tore up the telegram without a second thought. He never publicly acknowledged the child, visited rarely, and refused to provide any financial support throughout the years. For decades, the secret remained locked away, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. It wasn't until Young's posthumous memoir that the full truth came to light, a final revelation from beyond the grave that shocked a world still fascinated by the lives of Hollywood's golden age stars. The story of Clark Gable and Loretta Young exposes the brutal reality of Hollywood's studio system, a world where powerful men could act with impunity while women bore the consequences in silence. It reveals the lengths to which stars would go to protect their carefully constructed images, and the price paid by those caught in the machinery of fame. Young's willingness to keep the secret for so long speaks to the power dynamics of the era, while Gable's cold dismissal of his responsibilities reveals the darker side of Hollywood royalty. As the truth finally emerged, it added a bittersweet chapter to both their legacies, a reminder that the golden age of Hollywood was often built on foundations of pain, deception, and secrets that could not remain buried forever. The story of Gable and Young is not merely a scandal, it is a window into an era when survival in Hollywood required sacrificing truth for image, and when the price of stardom could be measured in the lives of those left behind. But Gable and Young's secret is only the beginning. The hidden history of old Hollywood grows even darker as we uncover the stories of stars who risked everything for love in an unforgiving industry. Number 2, Jean Harlow and William Powell. The platinum blonde bombshell and the sophisticated leading man, their romance was the kind of love story that Hollywood itself would have scripted, if only they had known about it. Jean Harlow, the woman who defined the term blonde bombshell, captivated audiences with her wit, charm, and undeniable screen presence. She was the girl everyone wanted to know, the star whose very name conjured images of glamour and sensuality. William Powell, on the other hand, was the embodiment of suave sophistication, a leading man who could charm any audience with his effortless elegance. When these two titans of the silver screen found each other, the connection was immediate, intense, and entirely hidden from public view. Behind the curtain of their carefully maintained public lives, Harlow and Powell fell deeply and passionately in love. Their bond was undeniable, a magnetic attraction that transcended the superficial relationships so common in Hollywood's social circles. But Powell carried the scars of his past. 2 failed marriages had left him hesitant, wary of walking down the aisle a third time. Despite his reservations, the love between them was genuine and powerful. Powell showered Harlow with affection, expensive gifts, and the kind of devotion that spoke of a man completely captivated by the woman at his side. They were inseparable, their connection so strong that those who knew them could sense the depth of feeling passing between them. But the pressures of Hollywood demanded secrecy. In an era when studios controlled every aspect of their stars' personal lives, Harlow and Powell had to hide their romance from the public eye. They were forced to maintain the fiction that they were merely friends, colleagues, industry acquaintances whose paths occasionally crossed. The deception must have been exhausting, to feel such powerful emotions while having to pretend they didn't exist, to love someone so deeply while being unable to openly acknowledge that love. Then tragedy struck in 1937. Jean Harlow died suddenly at just 26 years old from kidney failure, a devastating loss that rocked Hollywood to its core. The blonde bombshell who had seemed so vibrant, so full of life, was gone in an instant. Powell was devastated, his grief so profound that those who knew him could see the change in his very being. He arranged for Harlow to be buried in a stunning gown he had gifted her, ensuring that even in death, she would be remembered with the beauty and grace she had possessed in life. He paid for her crypt, making certain that the woman he loved would receive the dignified burial she deserved, a final act of devotion from a man who could never publicly acknowledge his feelings. Powell never spoke publicly about their romance or the depth of his grief. The secrets they had kept in life remained locked away, known only to a select few who had witnessed their love firsthand. But those close to Powell understood how deeply he had cared for Harlow, the way he withdrew from the world, the shadows that seemed to follow him, the sense of loss that never quite faded. Their relationship, hidden from the world during Harlow's brief life, became a bittersweet memory that Powell carried with him to his grave, a secret love story that would remain untold for decades. The tragedy of Jean Harlow and William Powell is that their love was never allowed to flourish in the light. They were forced to hide their feelings, to pretend that the connection between them was nothing more than friendship, when in reality, they had found something rare and precious in the artificial world of Hollywood. Powell's quiet devotion in the wake of Harlow's death speaks to the depth of his feelings, a love so powerful that it transcended the secrecy that had surrounded it in life. Their story raises haunting questions. What might their lives have been like if they could have loved openly? What would Hollywood have looked like if its stars had been free to follow their hearts? The answers, like so much of old Hollywood history, remain buried beneath layers of carefully constructed lies and the relentless demands of an industry that valued image above all else. Jean Harlow and William Powell's hidden romance is a testament to the human cost of Hollywood's golden age, a reminder that behind every glittering smile there may be a heart breaking in silence. Number 3, Greta Garbo and Salka Viertel. In the late 1920s, Greta Garbo's love life had already become the subject of intense fascination. After parting ways with her boyfriend and co-star John Gilbert, the enigmatic Swedish actress found herself drawn to someone entirely unexpected, Salka Viertel, a talented actor who had recently arrived in Hollywood from Berlin. They met at a party, and the connection between them was immediate, undeniable. What began as friendship quickly deepened into something far more profound, a bond that would shape both their lives and careers in ways neither could have anticipated. Salka Viertel was not the typical Hollywood starlet. She was 6 years older than Garbo, and industry insiders had dismissed her as too old and not beautiful enough to make it as an actress. But Garbo saw something in Salka that others missed, a talent, a depth, a sensibility that resonated with her own artistic soul. Salka was married to screenwriter Berthold Viertel and had 3 children, but that didn't stop the two women from forming a deep and intimate connection. In the rigid world of Hollywood, where conformity was demanded and deviation punished, their relationship was a daring act of defiance. With Garbo's influence and encouragement, Salka's career took an unexpected turn. When Garbo expressed interest in playing Queen Christina of Sweden, Salka suggested she take on the role and, with Garbo's support, co-wrote the screenplay. The film launched Salka into Hollywood's elite circles, proving that Garbo's faith in her was well-founded. Their partnership extended beyond the professional realm, however, their personal bond deepened, becoming one of the most significant relationships in both women's lives. Garbo's 26th birthday marked a turning point. It was on that day that she seduced Salka, an encounter that Salka would later describe as harmonious and beautiful. The affair between them, daring for its time, was kept secret to protect their careers and reputations. In a Hollywood that had no tolerance for such relationships, exposure would have meant professional ruin. They maintained their public friendship while their private lives remained hidden, a delicate balancing act that required constant vigilance. The arrival of Mercedes de Acosta, a bold screenwriter and open member of the LGBTQ+ community, complicated matters. Mercedes was determined to win Garbo's heart, and for a time, she succeeded. Garbo and Mercedes began an affair after a secluded trip to the High Sierras. But while Mercedes pursued Garbo with passionate intensity, the actress's heart remained tied to Salka. The love triangle created tensions that would have long-lasting consequences. Mercedes became obsessed with Garbo, following her everywhere, even moving nearby when Garbo relocated. The final blow came in 1960 when Mercedes published an autobiography that included a private photo of Garbo, a betrayal that shattered their bond forever. Garbo, who valued her privacy above all else, never forgave Mercedes for the violation. The relationships between Garbo, Salka, and Mercedes represent a hidden chapter of Hollywood history, a time when love between women had to remain invisible, when passion could only be expressed in secret, when the price of authenticity was professional and personal destruction. Garbo, who became one of the most enigmatic figures in cinema history, carried these secrets with her throughout her life, revealing nothing, protecting her inner world from a public that would never understand. Their stories remind us that the golden age of Hollywood was an era of profound contradictions, of glamour and repression, of artistic freedom and personal imprisonment. For Greta Garbo and Salka Viertel, love was a risk worth taking, even if it meant living in the shadows, even if it meant carrying the weight of secrets that could never be spoken aloud. Number 4. Marlon Brando and Rita Moreno. When Marlon Brando met Rita Moreno in 1954, sparks flew instantly. Moreno described their connection as electric, saying that just meeting him sent her into a full-body blush. But their relationship was anything but smooth. Brando, known for his charm and unfaithfulness, constantly cheated on Moreno during their 8 years together, breaking her heart over and over. Despite the pain he caused, Moreno couldn't stay away. She loved him deeply, even as he married other women during their on-again, off-again romance. Moreno wanted commitment, but Brando refused to make her his wife. The breaking point came when Moreno discovered lingerie that wasn't hers. Hurt and furious, she decided to get revenge, and that's when Elvis Presley entered the picture. Moreno accepted Elvis's advances, knowing it would drive Brando mad. It worked. When Brando found out, he exploded with jealousy, even throwing furniture in a fit of rage. Yet despite her brief satisfaction, Moreno admitted that Elvis couldn't compare to Brando. Their toxicity peaked when Moreno became pregnant. Brando forced her to have an abortion, but the procedure went horribly wrong, leaving Moreno traumatized. His cold reaction, focusing on the money he spent instead of her suffering, pushed her to the edge. In despair, Moreno attempted to take her life. Though she survived, it was clear their relationship had to end. The story of Marlon Brando and Rita Moreno is one of love, obsession, and the destructive power of toxic relationships, a reminder that even the most passionate love can leave lasting scars. Number 5. Barbara Stanwyck and Robert Taylor. On the surface, Barbara Stanwyck and Robert Taylor appeared to be the perfect Hollywood couple, glamorous, successful, and deeply in love. But like so many relationships in the world of classic cinema, their marriage was far more complicated than the fairy tale it seemed to be. Many who observed their union believed it was an arrangement orchestrated by the studios themselves, a carefully constructed partnership designed to boost their careers and protect their personal lives from the scandal that could destroy everything they had built. Robert Taylor, with his dashing looks and undeniable leading man charm, was a box office favorite. He embodied the kind of masculine appeal that audiences flocked to see, his screen presence magnetic and unforgettable. Barbara Stanwyck, on the other hand, was one of the highest-paid actresses of her era, celebrated for her strong, independent characters that defied traditional Hollywood expectations of femininity. Together, they made headlines, their public appearances carefully choreographed to project an image of domestic bliss and professional partnership. But behind the scenes, whispers of scandal followed them everywhere. Rumors about Stanwyck's relationships with women swirled through Hollywood, fueled by her independence and close friendships with female companions. In an era when such relationships were not accepted, the whispers were dangerous. They could destroy careers, end marriages, and expose stars to the kind of public scrutiny that no studio could manage. The press speculated endlessly, but the studios worked tirelessly to keep her personal life out of the spotlight, protecting one of their most valuable assets from the scandal that could destroy her. Meanwhile, Taylor's alleged affairs with other women further fueled the gossip, adding another layer of complexity to their carefully maintained public image. Their union began to seem more like a partnership than a marriage built on genuine romance, a business arrangement that served the interests of both parties while allowing them to maintain the appearances so crucial to their professional survival. Despite the rumors and the tensions behind the scenes, Stanwyck and Taylor stayed together for more than a decade. They presented a united front in public, their carefully maintained appearances fooling the press and the public alike. Behind closed doors, they guarded their private lives with the kind of discipline that only Hollywood could demand. The arrangement worked for years, their shared commitment to protecting their images creating a strange kind of stability. Their marriage finally ended in divorce in 1951, but the rumors never stopped. To this day, Stanwyck and Taylor's relationship remains one of Hollywood's most intriguing mysteries, a blend of glamour, secrecy, and scandal in equal measure. Were they truly in love, or were they simply playing the roles assigned to them by the studio system? Was their marriage a genuine partnership, or a carefully constructed fiction designed to protect their careers? The truth, like so much of Hollywood's hidden history, may never be fully known. What we do know is that Barbara Stanwyck and Robert Taylor navigated the treacherous waters of Hollywood fame with remarkable skill, maintaining their public images while protecting the secrets that could have destroyed them. Their story is a testament to the power of the studio system, the pressures faced by stars who lived in the spotlight, and the lengths to which people would go to protect the carefully constructed images that defined their lives. Number 6. Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood's golden girl, the embodiment of purity and virtue on and off the screen. With her luminous beauty and natural grace, she captivated audiences in classics like Casablanca and Gaslight, her saintly characters reflecting the public's perception of the actress herself. But Bergman's real life was far from the innocent image projected by the studios. Behind the carefully constructed facade of domestic virtue, a drama was unfolding that would shatter her reputation and force her to flee the very industry that had made her a star. Bergman had married Peter Lindstrom in 1937, a union that began with promise but quickly soured. By the time she moved to California in 1939 to pursue her acting career, the couple was already living apart, their marriage crumbling under the weight of her rising fame and his growing resentment. Bergman's career skyrocketed in the 1940s, her performances earning critical acclaim and public adoration. But her personal life remained in turmoil, the cracks in her carefully constructed facade widening with each passing year. Everything changed when Bergman met Italian director Roberto Rossellini while filming Stromboli in 1950. Their connection was immediate and undeniable, and they soon began an affair while Bergman was still married. When she discovered she was pregnant with Rossellini's child, the scandal that erupted was explosive. The public felt betrayed by the revelation that their beloved Ingrid was far from the virtuous woman they had imagined. The backlash was devastating. Bergman was labeled immoral, a woman who had betrayed the trust of her fans. Senator Edwin C. Johnson publicly condemned her, calling her a powerful influence for evil. The denunciations came from all sides, boycotts organized, films banned, the press hounding her relentlessly. Bergman, facing the destruction of everything she had built, made the difficult decision to flee to Europe, where she and Rossellini would welcome 3 children, including future actress Isabella Rossellini. The scandal ended Bergman's marriage to Lindström but also strained her relationship with her daughter Pia, whom she left behind. The abandonment of her child became another mark against her, another reason for the public's outrage. Bergman's reputation, so carefully cultivated over years of work, lay in ruins. It would take time, but Bergman's career eventually recovered. She returned to Hollywood in 1956, her talent undeniable and her star power undiminished. But the affair with Rossellini had forever marked her as one of Hollywood's most scandalous figures, a reminder that the golden age of cinema was built on fragile facades that could shatter in an instant. Bergman's story is one of redemption and resilience, a woman who refused to be defined by the scandal that had destroyed her reputation, who rebuilt her career and reclaimed her place in the industry that had once rejected her. But it is also a cautionary tale about the power of the Hollywood studio system, the expectations placed on female stars, and the brutal consequences of deviating from the carefully constructed images that defined their careers. The story of Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini serves as a reminder that the golden age of Hollywood was an era of profound contradictions, of glamour and hypocrisy, of artistic achievement and personal devastation. Bergman's choices may have cost her everything, but they also gave her something precious, the freedom to live her life on her own terms, even if it meant paying the ultimate price. Number 7. Errol Flynn and Beverly Odland. Errol Flynn's relationship with Beverly Odland became one of Hollywood's most scandalous stories, even if the full truth wasn't widely known at the time. By the 1950s, Flynn's once glittering career was overshadowed by his reputation for womanizing, drinking, and previous legal troubles involving underage girls. His romance with Beverly Odland only cemented his notoriety. Flynn met Odland when she was just 15, though he claimed he didn't learn her age until after their relationship began. Their first meeting was orchestrated under the guise of an audition, but it was more about Flynn's personal interest than her acting abilities. Despite the obvious red flags, Beverly's mother, Florence, encouraged the relationship, even accompanying them on dates to deflect suspicion from the press. Flynn used his charm and promises of making Beverly a star to win over Florence, who saw the relationship as an opportunity for her daughter's career. Flynn gave Beverly the nickname Woodsy and even announced plans to marry her at her 17th birthday party. However, his declining health caught up with him in 1959. While leasing his yacht in Canada, Flynn died in Beverly's arms after a night of storytelling. After Flynn's death, Beverly's life spiraled. She was placed in a juvenile home, and her mother was jailed for contributing to her delinquency. Florence later wrote a book about the affair, The Big Love, against Beverly's wishes, adding to the sensationalism of their controversial romance. The story of Errol Flynn and Beverly Odland is a tragic chapter in Hollywood history, a tale of exploitation, manipulation, and the dark side of fame. These 7 hidden affairs reveal the truth behind Hollywood's glittering facade, the secret lives, forbidden romances, and devastating betrayals that shaped the golden age of cinema. From tragic deaths to scandalous affairs, from hidden identities to explosive revelations, the stories of these stars remind us that fame comes at a price, and that the pursuit of love often leads to the darkest corners of the human heart. What do you think about these scandalous affairs that defined an era? Were they shocking, romantic, or just plain outrageous? Subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for more untold stories from Hollywood's hidden history.